Okay, so in today's class, we are going to take our last look at the argumentative essay that we've been working on with the prompt, is a college education necessary for success? So this is our last day that we're going to be working with this essay. We've already looked at reviewing our thesis and talked about how to make a strong thesis statement. We edited and revised one of our body paragraphs, and we made sure that we had either logical evidence or a personal anecdote or some kind of empirical evidence built into one paragraph. So now we're going to go back to our original essay and we're going to put it all together. You're going to include your new thesis in that essay. We're going to put your new body paragraph in. If you have two pieces of evidence to present, two reasons, you'll make a new paragraph. And then we're going to talk about some techniques for helping make sure that your essay has some originality, some creativity, and that we're using rhetorical devices to help make our argument stronger. Okay. Revising and editing is a super important part of the process. And I know when you take your EOC, that part often gets left off because you're just so happy to be done writing the essay, you're ready to move on with the rest of the test. But going back and proofreading and making sure, thinking back to the things that we talk about in class and making sure that your essay has those things. Do I have a claim? Are my reasons strong? Do I have evidence here? Did I build a counter argument into my writing? Do I have any rhetorical devices to make my essay stand out? Like taking a minute to go back and think about that and look for those things can really make the difference between a 2 and a 3 or a 3 and a 4 on your essay score. Okay, so revising is going back and looking at the content. What did I write? And then editing, looking at the grammatical things and the conventions, your punctuation, your capitalization. Do I have any sentences that just kind of go on and on and on and I need to maybe break them up? Revising and editing are both really important. So that's what we're going to do with our essays. So today, I'm going to share my screen for our Zoom students. So they're not trying to squint over my shoulder here. Okay. So whether you're writing or reading an argumentative text, let me put this student in. Hello. So whether you're writing or reading an argumentative text, you start with the claim. That's your position on the issue, and it tells your reader what side of the argument that this paper is going to be about. Your claim is supported with your two strongest reasons, the big idea as to why you believe what you believe. Okay, this is review from last time, but I want to make sure that it's fresh in our minds as we're going to review our essay. So what is your claim? What side of the argument? What are your two strong reasons? And then what evidence do you have that supports your claim and your reasons? Your claim and reasons, that's your thesis. That's going to be in the introduction part of your essay. Your evidence is presented in your body paragraphs. Okay. And for our purposes, you want to make sure you have two pieces of evidence to support your thesis. If you only have one, that's okay for the EOC essay, but you want to make sure you're presenting it really thoroughly if you're going to have one body paragraph. This sets up the structure for your essay. Okay. So that's the what. That's the what is in your essay. The other thing we're going to make sure we include are rhetorical strategies. That's the techniques you use to put together the information. What kind of word choices do you make? What kind of appeals do you want to build into it? What kind of evidence are you presenting? These are the choices. Those are the rhetorical strategies. And some of them that we talked about, ethos, pathos, and logos. So your evidence can include words that are gonna try to appeal to a reader's sense of character, their morals, their emotions. The language choices you make can try to evoke feelings in your reader, or your language choices might lean toward the logical side. And often writers, when you're reading text, whether it's a speech or an article, or you're writing, you want to use multiple appeals, okay? Maybe one of your pieces of evidence, you're really appealing to pathos, and then in your next paragraph, you're going to appeal to more logic, or you're going to mix between the two. It's not that you have to have one and stick to it the whole essay. Writers don't do that. They use different appeals to appeal to different kinds of readers. Okay, does that make sense? Now, the other kind of rhetorical strategies we're going to talk about, and this slide, these slides are in the assignment today, so you can go back and look at them. Don't feel like you have to try to get all this written down. There's 4 other kinds of rhetorical devices I want to highlight and talk about. We're going to look at these and practice these in more depth next semester. But since you're revising your essay, and some of you guys have done these kinds of things already, I want to for sure point them out so that you're aware of them. And if you can build some of this into your revision, that would be great. If you can pick one thing to try to do with this revision, that would be great, okay? So repetition. If you've ever read anything by Dr. Martin Luther King, any of his speeches, he was really masterful at using repetition. The reason you repeat some words in a text is because you want to emphasize that idea. So like Dr. King, he, in his I Have a Dream speech, for example, he repeated that phrase, I have a dream, and then he shared some information. And then he said, I have a dream, and he presented more evidence. I have a dream. And so his repeated use of that phrase, one, it made his speech memorable, right? His listeners remembered what he was saying, but it emphasized that his whole speech, that topic, was about a dream he had to call people to action, to help join him in that dream. So you don't repeat something just for the sake of repeating it. When you're going to use repetition, make sure it's your main idea that you're emphasizing. Parallelism is when you kind of repeat a grammatical structure of a sentence, and you do it for the same purpose because you want to draw the reader's attention to something in your writing. So this quote, this is a fiction quote. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom. It was the age of foolishness. You can kind of hear the balance in those sentences. They all start out with it was, and they're presenting ideas that conflict with each other. Best of times, worst of times. And the speaker did that, one, for interest. It added interest to the writing. And two, it made a point. In this case, they were presenting that the time period that they're talking about was full of contradictions. Okay, so, but you can do something similar in your writing. It doesn't have to be some brilliant piece of literary work. You can use a similar parallel structure of sentence to make a statement of, oftentimes writers they'll make 3 statements in a row that have parallel structure in order to make a point, drive home for a reader. So parallelism is one way that writers do that. Rhetorical questions is something you're probably familiar with. That's inserting a question in your text at a strategic point to get your reader thinking. You're not going to answer a rhetorical question if you include one in your writing. You're not going to say, if we give in now, where will it end? Well, it's going to end when blah, blah, blah. You're not going to answer it. You use the rhetorical question and then let your evidence help guide the reader to an answer. So if you're writing an argumentative essay about supporting animal shelters, your example could be, can we afford to let these creatures suffer any longer? You're not gonna necessarily answer that by saying, no, we cannot. You're not gonna use those words. You're gonna present evidence that's gonna help make that come to life for the reader. Okay, so a rhetorical question, if you use it, make sure it's well placed and that you're not answering it. You're doing it to get your reader thinking. And the last rhetorical device I just want to touch on is called antithesis. That sounds like a big fancy word, but really it's a simple concept. It's presenting contrasting ideas to help, again, make a point to your reader. So you might notice that this one, best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom. It was the age. Those are contrasting ideas. So that paragraph actually has both of these things in it. But you can make just a simple statement like, to err is human, to forgive divine. You're saying, okay, erring, that's a human thing, but if I forgive, now I've elevated it. You're contrasting two things. Speech is silver, but silence is gold. It's using silver and gold to compare speaking and being silent. So using antithesis is simply just making contrasting ideas come to life for a reader. These are all things, they're choices the author makes to make the writing more interesting and to emphasize a point. Okay, so as you're reading through yours, like I said, some of you guys did this already. I read some great figurative language in some of the introductions of our essays. I don't remember what class it was specifically, but someone compared education to a lamp that lit a path. So in their introduction, they used the metaphor how education can light your path for your future. That's great imagery. So celebrate those things if you've used them. Don't edit those out. Look at how you can build on that idea. And one technique that often writers will do is they'll put a great metaphor in the beginning, and then they'll come back to it at the end, making almost like a sandwich for that idea, and help leave the reader with a nice visual in their mind of the point they're trying to make. So our assignment today, we're going to look back at our essay. You're going to make sure you've got your new thesis built into your introduction first. And if you need to make some changes, or the more you think about it, you want to edit it from what you submitted to me, that's okay. Cut and paste your body paragraph that you wrote. You can cut and paste it right in. And then look at what else you had around that in your essay. Can you build in a rhetorical strategy in there? Does your other example, if you had two examples, does that other piece of evidence fit our logical, empirical, or anecdotal evidence? Make sure you write in paragraphs. Please, please, please. If your original essay was just one big text box, give your essay structure. Introduction, body paragraph with evidence, body paragraph with more evidence, conclusion. Okay? And if you didn't have a counter argument before, a sentence that reads something like, although some people believe, blah, 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 and present why that thought is wrong, build a counter argument in there somewhere. It can be a simple 1 to 2 sentence statement, but that is something that your EOC graders look for. If the writer kind of understands that there is an opposing side to this argument and presents why their side is stronger. And then read over it, make sure it makes sense. Your paragraphs have right conventions to them, punctuation, capitalization, all that great stuff. And then you're going to, once you've revised it, you're going to hit that submit button again so that it submits the revision to me. Okay. You'll go back into that original assignment to do this. There's not a new place. So you'll go back to that original Q2 3-week argumentative essay assignment. You should be able to see your essay there, and you can work from there. Yes? Once you're done with your revision, go to the other assignment and type yes. That'll let me know it's ready to grade. If you typed yes already, don't panic. Don't worry. I'll figure it out that you haven't revised it yet. But I had to make another assignment in Canvas, so I have a place for the second grade. But you're going to actually do your revising in the original. I didn't want you guys to have to like type it all over again. So go back to your original one to do your revisions. And then when you're done, go into the revise and type yes. That lets me know it's ready to grade. And that gives me a place where I can actually put that grade. Okay. So any questions or comments or wonderings about that? Okay. So you've got the rest of this class period to work on it. I really don't want you to have to take it beyond this class period because we're starting with our original essay and you have some of those pieces. You should be able to hopefully work on that and get it finished this class period. There will be one more assignment next class period on Wednesday. I won't be here, but there's going to be a short revising and editing practice assignment to kind of remind you guys of some of those revising and editing type questions, because you're going to see them on the semester final. I will be here Friday, because on Friday we're not going to have a new assignment. We're going to go over some good test taking strategies and some other things I feel you need to know to help you be prepared for the semester test. All right. Okay, so you guys have about 15 minutes till lunch. You can start working. If you have any questions, let me know.